Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to order. First on the agenda is a CSM request being part of lots 2 and 3, block 4 plat of Hortonville, located in the northeast quarter, southeast, etc. Ryan and Julie Vandenheuvel. Julie is going to remove herself for these first two items. What's being requested with this one is to...
Yeah, Al, maybe I can just do a quick introduction before I turn it over to the applicant. Basically, we're talking about one parcel. It's 118 North Nash, and there's 2 steps. So let me explain the 2 steps that are being asked for recommendation tonight. The first step is actually called a certified survey map that would divide that parcel into 2 lots, lot 1 and lot 2. Lot 1 would be facing Nash Street and would have the house. Lot 2 would be the garage in the back, and the applicant is proposing that lot 2 would be combined with their other parcel eventually, so it would be part of the residential property that's just to the east of that. And then the second part is actually a rezoning of that front half, lot 1. So you should have maps in my staff report. I know it's kind of hard to see, but there's a little bit darker line around the property, so you can kind of get a visual on where it sits. The subject property has a structure and a garage. The current owner is looking to sell the property. The purchaser that buys the house is looking to do some commercial business use out of the house, but the seller wants to retain ownership of the garage and make it part of their residential lot. So that's pretty much the request. We have 2 steps. Again, this first step is a certified survey map, and the second step is the zoning. I don't know if the applicant would like to make
I can just say, we purchased this back in 2010 from my dad's estate. And we bought it along with our residence on 121 East Main, which would be the bottom part of that CSM. We want to keep the 2.5 stall garage for ourselves. We want to sell what we currently use as a rental property. We listed it for sale, and before we did that, we had a certified survey map done, but we didn't record it with the courthouse because we weren't sure if it was going to sell for residential or commercial. We knew there was a potential for commercial. We have an offer that is contingent on a rezone. The individual wants to use it for an office, for 2 office staff. He runs a credit card processing. He's a local gentleman. Am I allowed to say who? Is that okay, Bob? I mean, it's not a secret. It's Les Van Ornum. Les has had business in town when he was over in where Tom Oak has hit that vacant property. He liked the location, and he wants to be in that downtown area, but likes the idea of it looking like a residence because it's not going to be a lot of foot traffic. We personally, we're done being landlords. We'd like to sell it, and this is the offer we've got. So we were worried about having a landlocked piece at lot 2, but then we were informed that it would be actually a pretty simple process is to request that lot 2 then to be merged with our current residential property, which would then not make anything landlocked. So that's the request.
Any questions or comments from the board?
I could probably add too, that vacant lot on the corner, is that zoned light industrial?
It is zone light industrial, and that's going to be part of the discussion in the next item. We talk about the creation of the new downtown zoning district. That's actually being proposed to be part of that. So while it's zoned right now light industrial, the proposal through the downtown zoning committee is that would be changed into that downtown district.
Across the street is Bethlehem Lutheran's gym. The bowling alley, there's a residence next door, the Myers. And then directly to the east of that would be our own personal. We would probably have the most interaction with that piece of property, and we're comfortable with this. Did you receive any comments from anybody within that 300 feet? No.
I just received one that was wondering, what parcel it was being talked about when they received it. After I explained to them, they were all right with it.
The current lot as it is a non-conforming residential lot. It's too small to be a residential lot in the village, but it's non-conforming because it was there prior to, obviously, an ordinance must have existed. And it's my understanding the commercial size doesn't have a minimum size, so it would no longer be a non-conforming. It would be a commercial lot that conforms with the current ordinances.
Here comes Rogers.
Here comes Roger.
Only 5 minutes. You leave us.
Yeah.
So she can't be part of this first discussion.
So, the first requested action, if there are no other questions, would be to recommend to the village board that, village board approve the certified survey map creating lots 1 and 2. Unless somebody has a specific question.
We need
What
another.
they're looking for is this lot on Nash to be, right now, to take and subdivide this. So this garage would be part of their property instead of on there. And then the second item on here is to make this commercial.
Do you know which ones that is, Roger? It's that little rental house my dad had for years.
Yeah, I looked at that.
Yeah.
I know where everything is, yeah.
Yeah, and we're done, we don't want to be we don't want to be landlords anymore. And this was a purchase opportunity, and it's a commercial opportunity, but it's a couple of office girls. It's not a lot of foot traffic. They process credit card payments online. They also do the ATMs that are local here. Les Canornum is the individual who's interested. So he is not looking at a lot of foot traffic. And we would actually be the most affected by this if it does become high foot traffic. So.
You're right, you would be affected.
It's right in my backyard, literally, yeah. And I'm open for questions, and if you want to discuss it without me here, I'm okay with that too. This is something we've been wanting to do for a few years, and it just happened now that I'm on P and Z. So,
I'm up to date pretty much on that stuff, so, you know, I'm okay with it. I looked at it, right?
So tell us again, what's our first step here?
Our first step for you is to consider making a recommendation to the village board to approve the certified survey map, and that basically creates the 2 lots. So that'd be the first recommendation.
Also move.
I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
If I can interject, I would ask that it's conditioned though on merger of Lot 2 with their existing residence. Because we wouldn't want that as a standalone.
That one or two, what about the neighbors there?
they received us, we've spoken to them verbally at the Myers.
I know.
Yep, and we've spoken to them verbally because they were telling us they were building a garage. We told them we were at this for sale, it would likely go commercial. They haven't asked any questions. We've been in the backyard. They gave a friendly wave just 2 days ago. I know walking by, it's not,
Yeah, they're from was several houses down.
That wouldn't be one.
if it was a high foot traffic, I would have concerns, but it's not a high foot traffic business. So,
Okay. Sorry.
no, don't please interrupt.
Oh, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved.
Abstain.
Then second on here is the rezone of lot 1.
Yeah, with the certified survey map, when it gets recorded, we don't have a certified survey map number right now, but the front lot facing Nash The request is that would be rezoned to commercial. The second part right now, Lot 2, would go to residential, but part of our next discussion is Lot 2 and the residential property on Main Street actually being rezoned into that downtown zoning district. So we still would leave it residential now. But the request is, because it's part of the sale, that Lot 1 be rezoned. And again, this is a recommendation. The public hearing will be held in September with the village board. So what we're looking for action item out of the planning and zoning committee is to recommend approval rezoning of Lot 1 of the CSM from residential to C1 general commercial.
I'd make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
No. And we'll move on to the ordinance creating downtown zoning district.
Okay, on the downtown zoning district rezoning is something that I'm kind of picking up after Diane has left and moved on from the village. As I understand it, we created the ad hoc committee to kind of look at the creation of this district and the wording. The wording's been approved, but we are looking to have a recommendation from planning and zoning to actually adopt a new ordinance. The new ordinance would create section 17.30 and call it the downtown zoning district. Part of the ordinance that's also going before the village board would renumber some of the existing sections of the ordinance and just pushing them back so that the districts kind of fall in the same numbering system. Basically, we would need renumbering whatever was in 17.4 to 17.5, and whatever was in 17.3 to 17.34 would be renumbered to 17.4 to 17.44, and then we would create a new 1730, which is the exact language that this committee already has seen, and actually came to the committee in April and the village board on April 19th, but we need to incorporate that, to codify that in our zoning code. And then we also need to go through and actually rezone the parcels. So there's really, again, two more steps in order to get this done. The first one is the ordinance itself that would create the downtown zoning district. And I took the language that you saw previously in April, made it part of 1730, and just talked about the other changes. So the first action would be a recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission to the village board that they adopt ordinance number 0-8-18, which basically creates section 17.3 for our downtown zoning district. Any questions on that?
The only comment I had was, we were talking about a little bit before the meeting, there's one, if you're looking at the map, the front part of Veterans Park wasn't included in the original map, and it was just simply an error, but it should be, the Veterans Park, all of it should be included, so lot 28 on the map.
Yeah, that's actually, we should have that as part of the discussion on the next item, which is the rezoning the parcels.
Okay.
But because some of this you got copied, and this might not be very easy to read, I asked Nathan to help me out and just give you another copy. So what Julie's referring to is parcel 0028. And that wasn't identified on the map, but my understanding it was intended to be included. But the maps that I got from Diane, clearly if you look on this map is outside of that boundary, but that would actually be on item number 5 on our agenda when we start talking about which parcels. This item, if I could just get a recommendation on the ordinance, that would be helpful.
So move.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? approved. Then we'll go to the rezone multiple downtown.
Yeah, and I think by having the map, we're okay. We would take parcels that are basically residential, general, commercial, and there's, as we talked about before, parcel 33 is light industrial. That's where the cars are parked right now. And put all of those into this new downtown district. And I guess based on what I heard this evening, I would ask that you'd also include parcel 0028 as part of the parcels that'll be rezoned. We've sent the letters out for the public hearing on September 6th. So part of the process of getting parcels rezoned is doing a blanket request, and the village is the requester of the rezoning. And worked with Bob in drawing all that up. So we have to go through the process, just like we did tonight for rezoning of one parcel, but we'll be doing the entire 2 blocks on both sides of the street. And if you want to recommend the inclusion of parcel 0028, we would have that as a public hearing before the village board.
And then Russ, don't forget the lot 2 of the CSM we just did.
Yes,
Yeah.
that should be as well.
Which is part of 30.
Thank you.
Will that get that'll get a new parcel number, Bob, or how does that?
Yeah, eventually that, well, if it's merged, they'll probably just make it part of yours, which is...
I think that was
So when we make that motion, we should make sure we just,
I think I did.
just tentative lot.
I'd say the eastern portion of parcel 34.
Okay.
It's 32 years.
32
Yes.
is me.
So would that mean all of 34 would then be included in?
No, we're gonna,
Because that would be added in with hers?
the request is that 34 from the buyer of the property stay commercial, so.
Right, but speaking, the Van Hand, her property is already marked in here as a commercial, because that's 32.
No, that's residential, but it's marked because that's part of the
It was included in
district
this.
that's gonna be rezoned
So
to
all-
downtown.
All of 34 be part of the district then?
No.
No.
So the eastern portion will be part of the downtown district as well as parcel 32, but 34 would be strictly commercial, just like across the street from the church. Those are really identified as institutional and commercial.
If I could just take maybe just a little step back, originally this was set up as like the historical downtown zoning district. It's meant to keep the historical features of our downtown, and why my residence was included was because of that being Dr. Town's residence. This was originally, and now it's considered like a downtown zoning district, but originally the word historic was part of this process. So lot 34 has no historical value, but lot 32 does. And lot 2, or the eastern part of 34, would now be part of 32, although there's nothing historical about the garage. But 34, there's nothing historical, so that doesn't need to continue on.
So that won't be added to the district?
Correct, it will not.
Not on 34.
No.
Well, whatever lot 1 is of the CSM.
Lot 2.
Lot 2. Yeah, so once that certified survey is recorded, that new little description will be lot 2 of that CSM.
But lot 1 of the CSM would remain commercial.
To me, it would just make sense that lot 2 would also be added in there, because then you got this little bitty block of 34 that's going to be added into 32, because you're going to add them together, right, as one? Or have them separate?
This is going to be eventually added into here.
Right,
This
that's
is
what I
not.
meant, it's going to be added in there. But with 32 being part of the district, according to this map,
Yes.
and you add in the new commercial one, you'll have that little block in there that we just separated that won't be, I mean, that's,
Let me try explaining it a different way, because I think there's just a little bit of confusion, and let me try explaining it just a little bit. Lots 33 is currently,
right.
parcel 33 is currently light industrial, that's gonna go in the downtown zoning district. The residential property, basically the van removal property, is parcel 0332. That's going into the downtown zoning district. If you look at parcel 034 that we just talked about, it'll be split in half. The western portion facing Nash will stay commercial, as will the property on the western side of Nash Street stay commercial. The eastern portion, the lot 2 of that CSM, would convert to the new downtown zoning district. So there'll be a split on parcel 34, with the western side staying commercial and the eastern side becoming part of the new downtown.
So the
zoning
eastern
district.
part will become part of this,
Yes.
but not the western part?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking
I know.
the other way around.
Right, I know, it was kind of confusing, and that's why I tried to explain it a little bit clearer. Hopefully I did.
Yeah, and why there was the residence added in there was because of the historical features.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
I just didn't understand the
Yeah.
34 unit.
That we put in many years.
Everybody understand that now? Explanation.
The only question I have is, I live in this district, so am I able to vote on this, or do I abstain from this?
I understand.
I think it'd be best if I abstain.
Okay. Good thing, because I just stayed at a Holiday Inn last night, I would have given you a different advice.
It's probably preferable to.
Yeah.
Why did we think the park, I don't remember that discussion, why did we think the park should be 0028? Why should that be rolled into it?
Again, the information I got from Diane is basically this map here. And the highlighted parcels are the ones that I was working off of. Julie came in and she thought the intent was that this front part of the park should be the same as the rest of the park. I don't know why you would treat the park separate.
It was an error, and it was, this page was created when East Central came and did a big, we had at the basement of the Opera House. East Central, Tom Barron came and gave this presentation about this downtown zoning district. And it was recognized at that time that that should have been included, it just, when it was printed, it wasn't, because that used to be a house there.
Yep.
That was a house, and it just wasn't included in the map you printed, and it wasn't that they didn't want it, but why would we split a park? Why would we take off the piece of the park that's got the monuments and things on it and not make it part of it? Yeah, and it was, I remember that night, I believe it's on YouTube, it was simply an error, that it should have been printed that way, it just wasn't printed that way, and this is an older map.
That's where my office was.
Yeah,
That's where Bob was.
yeah, that's where you were.
You took him right out.
Yep.
Watched
let him
it,
get off
watched it go.
Yeah.
But that was.
You notice.
And it was Diane and Tom Barron that printed these, and I remember that presentation that night. This was just simply an oversight.
Yeah, okay. It's been kind of a little bit of a struggle picking up the pieces because we had to figure out where this whole process was at. So I had to draft up the ordinance that I went through with the numbering that we just talked about, and then it took me a while because I found this in the corner of getting the exact parcels, because at first I wasn't clear to me coming in, not being part of the process, what parcels wanted to be rezoned. So I'm leaving it up to you and the village board on the intent of what the ad hoc committee, whatever it was called.
It was the task force.
Task force.
I think, I was on behalf of Historic Preservation. I think you were on it. Yeah.
But it kind of makes sense to make it all the park as part of it. So for this action, we're looking for a recommendation to rezone the parcels and to the village board, and that a public hearing be set for September 6th.
I used to move.
Roger, I'll second your motion. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Approved. Next time, there's next meeting date, that will be as needed, and you'll be notified. The last thing on here is for adjournment.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.